I'm Kevin.
I'm Kristen, and we're on location.
Yeah, we are actually in Wilmington, New York, which is the foot of Whiteface Mountain, where the 1980 Olympics were. The snow jumps and downhill and all that fun stuff. We're about 20 minutes from Lake Placid, and we're actually sitting here on the West Ozable River, which is right beside us. And we've got the road here too.
Because it has a nice view, right?
It does. It has a great view. And if you look behind us, that is Whiteface directly behind us. And we were up there yesterday. It's over 4,000 feet, and it is a big, big mountain. And in our relationships, we always have these mountains that we're either climbing up on top of for just a little bit, or we're coming down. And that's what we thought we'd talk about today.
So some mountains are the size of Whiteface.
And then some mountains are just, those little,
Hills.
yeah, maybe they're hills. They're not quite mountains. But a lot of times when we're standing at the bottom of them, they don't have to be that big. They can be kind of those little ones. But when we're standing and looking up at them, they still seem very, very big.
Yeah, I think when you're in the middle of something, it always feels harder to get through than once you're on the other side and you've accomplished that. And then also I think the more mountains you climb, your perspective changes at some point where you feel like you have accomplished these things and you're better equipped to tackle issues.
Yeah, like here in the Adirondacks, in the high peaks, there are 46 high peaks. Those 46 high peaks, people go up them, and once you've done a few of them, it gets a lot easier. To me, that seems like a daunting task, because if I'm standing looking at the bottom of this thing and looking up there, and even though I've driven up there and I know how far it is up there, it still seems impossible. So in marriage, like the first time, like when we first get married,
Yeah.
a lot of times like we'll hit that first roadblock and it's like, wow, what do I do? And a lot of people are just like, all right, well, you know what? The easiest thing's to go this way or go this way. Avoid it, which isn't good, because a lot of those things, especially if they're kind of those little bumps and everything, they're not going to go away. We can make that turn, but we're just going to come to another one along the way.
Right.
So that's really, really important. When we do face those mountains, we have to go over them. And the best way to go over them is together. That's what God put us together for, because we're stronger as two than one.
And we're not even two.
We're
we
three.
are three, right? And it says a three-strand cord is not easily broken. And
Yes.
the third
It's
is Jesus. And it's sort of a great example because it shows us being three, but being one.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of like the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Like God is three in one. He's triune. And that's a big one for anybody to wrap their head around. And I don't know if anybody really truly finally gets it. I mean, I think we can say, okay, we get it. He's three in one. He's Father, Spirit, and Son. He's eternal. He made everything. He came down and dwelled among us, put skin on as Jesus, and then he sent his Spirit after he went back up in the Spirit. But they're all the same. So God has always been there. He's eternal. He's always with us, and he will always be.
Yeah. And sometimes it's hard, I think, to wrap your head around because we hear the story of Christmas with baby Jesus. And when you see a baby, you think, wow, that's the beginning.
Yeah.
But Jesus, it said, Jesus is the Word, and the Word was
with God, and the Word was God.
But also was there in the beginning.
Yes.
Which is the beginning of time.
Yes. And I think we forget that. And when we look at it that way, when we look at it that, God is part of our marriage, God is part of our relationship, God has always been there. And if God has always been there, God's the same yesterday, today, and forever, that means he's always good. He's always going to be there. We can always count on him. If we put him in the center of our marriage, that means we have the stability in there. We don't have to worry like when we have a mountain to climb. Or same thing up on that mountain. It was snowing literally 3 weeks ago up there. We are at the midpoint going into the end of June, and it was snowing up there. There's always those storms. And he's always there in the storms. He's in the good, the bad. And that's the way our marriage is. He's always there with us, and our spouse is always there with us. And a lot of times we forget that. When we're facing that mountain, we want to do it ourselves. or we think, oh, well, they're not gonna be there for me.
Right. And that's actually a good point, because when you first get married, you make a covenant with God. So he is there in the beginning of your marriage as well, just like he was there in the beginning of time. And that first mountain that you have to overcome, he's there to lean on.
Yeah.
But sometimes we forget that.
Yeah. Yeah, we do. I think the first mountain we have to overcome is ourself. That when we get married and two becomes one, we have to die to ourselves in a lot of ways, because what's ahead of us is better than what's behind us. God is forming that new path, and he has that vision for just our marriage. But if we choose not to engage, if we see that like, okay, well, I've got me and I got Kristen, but us is up here somewhere, and how do we get there? A lot of times it's like, well, if I just keep doing what I'm doing and she keeps doing what she's doing, and maybe we'll kind of meet somewhere along the way, and that just doesn't work. We have to be on that same path.
No, because you might come closer, but then you also might veer to the side. But it's the selfishness, right? It's dying to your own selfishness, and that's the same thing. You're dying to that in marriage, but that's a good representation of your relationship with Christ. You have to die to your selfishness with your relationship with Jesus too.
Yeah, always. And like that's that first big mountain that we have to do. Now, as we go along, like we've been married 25 years, there's been a lot of mountains. There's been a lot of ups and downs.
Some are our own making.
Yeah, sometimes we like just pile up stuff and make a mountain there that we wouldn't necessarily even have to deal with, but we did it to ourselves.
Right.
Sometimes there's those mountains right there in front of us, and we are so scared to face them that we'll do everything to run around from them, but it just doesn't work because they're always going to come back. It's like we're trying to run around something, but it keeps moving out in front of us. It's like I don't think we realize it might be a little mountain, but when we try to run around it, it just keeps kind of moving forward. And I think that's hard to understand too, because we want an easy path. We want things to be easy, and marriage is not easy. Like we need to go up those mountains, and we need to do it hand in hand, side by side together.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have a mountain today, maybe you're coming down off one. Maybe you just had a really great, you were up at that peak and it was high and you're looking and everything looks great and wonderful. And then you start to go down. Well, you're gonna eventually hit the bottom, and that's normally not good because that's not where we want to be either. But when we get to the bottom, we got to start going back up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a huge thing. And the other thing is I'm sitting here and as I'm looking to the screen, one of my favorite things in the morning, especially on a cloudy morning, and when I'm praying and stuff, it's like you get to see the sun shining through those clouds. And you can see the sun over my shoulder starting to shine through those clouds. But that's exactly how God is in our marriage too. When we have Jesus in our marriage, when we face those mountains, when it looks really cloudy up there or awful, or if it's a cloudy day and things aren't going well and it's like rainy or whatever, we know the sun is behind those clouds.
Yeah.
We know that. That's scientifically proven nature. The sun never leaves. The earth spins, the sun never leaves. It's always there, and Jesus never leaves us. God's son never leaves us either. So when we have the sun in our marriage, it's the same thing. We might not be able to see him clearly all the time. We might not be able
hear him. He could be quiet.
Hear him, because maybe there's some thunder, maybe there's some wind, maybe there's whatever it is that's interfering with us hearing him. But we trust and we know that he is always there.
And I think it's important when you think he's quiet to stop, get quiet yourself, and start to think back on the last thing that you did feel that he was speaking to you.
Yep.
Because he may still be at that last thing, but you have moved in a different direction and you think you're moving in the right direction, but you need to step back and make sure you're in obedience.
Yeah, because a lot of times we're like, God, tell me what to do. I don't know what to do. What should I do? And he already told you what to do, but you didn't like what he said. You didn't want to climb that mountain. You didn't want to face that argument. You didn't want to have that talk, that discussion. You didn't want to move. You didn't want to change a job. You didn't want to have a hard conversation with someone. Or maybe you didn't want to submit to someone that you know God has put over you. And all those things, when we hear him say those things, or we feel him, or whatever it may be, and we choose to go around that mountain, and then we're come back like, God, what do I do? It's like, wait a minute, I told you what to do. And a lot of times he will be quiet in those instances. And maybe it's your marriage, and maybe you're like, I don't know what to do. Like, I really don't know what to do. And if you think back and you look at it, and if you come together and you talk through it and everything, he already gave you the answer. He told you what you're supposed to be doing. He's given you your path. We have free will, so he doesn't ordain every one of our steps. He doesn't say you have to do this, 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 or this. We have latitude and free will in there, but the end goal is the same. You know, your marriage, your life, everything, the end goal is to love people, to point them to Jesus and live the way he did.
Yeah, that's good.
Period.
Yeah.
So if you're not loving people, if you're not pointing people, if people don't see Jesus in you and your marriage and everything you do, then you need to step back and say, okay, where did I get off path here?
And step back to the fully surrender. Like, you can take it right back to square one.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't even know where you lost path, start at your fully surrender. I surrender this. I surrender this in my life. And you'll probably come to the sticking point.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not hard if you go. Let me rephrase that. It might be hard. it might be hard, but it's simple.
It's simple.
And I think that's the other thing. Life is hard. Marriage is hard. Relationships are hard. Following Jesus is hard. I mean, it was hard for him. He died for us. There's not much harder. And so it's not going to be easy.
And it's very hard because chances are you're in a relationship with someone who's opposite of you.
Yeah. And even if they're a lot alike you, they're still you're two different people, and we're two selfish people. And it's kind of like, you know, they're twins, and people have twins, and they grow up, they're boys and girls, or girls, whatever they are. At some point, those twins, as much as they work together and they know one another and everything else, they're individual people,
yeah.
And they go in a different path. And sometimes one is better at one thing than the other, and sometimes one likes something that the other one doesn't, and stuff like that.
But in marriage, you're marrying someone with a complete different history and path.
Right, so that's totally different.
Yeah.
So if a twin can't do it, then how would we expect that we could do it? Two totally different people, totally different families of origin, background, and everything coming together. It's not going to be easy. So, I don't know. That's it. The black flies are biting,
yes,
as Christine can see. Watching some guy fishing over here, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, mountains, we all have them. We all face them. We face them each and every day. The important thing is to face them and not run from them, not run around them, not back down from them. They're there.
Not pretend they're not there.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely, because a lot of times we want to do that. We want to be like, well, you know what? That thing's sitting there, but I'm just going to keep my head down. And I think that's one thing about following God, too, and especially having him in your marriage. Like, you got to keep looking up.
And, you know, I was thinking yesterday when we were on Whiteface, we drove up it. Mm-hmm. So we didn't have to climb it. Mm-hmm. But there was a path through it. Mm-hmm. There's a path that went to the middle of the mountain that took an elevator to the top. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes when we have mountains, we would love to just sort of go through them and not go over them. But in reading how much it took to make that hole through the mountain, mm-hmm. if you try and avoid your mountain and go through it, it's a lot harder than getting to the top.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is. Like, to get to that shaft in the middle of that mountain, they had to move, I forget how many.
Oh, it was ridiculous.
It was a ridiculous amount of stone, and the time it took and everything like that. It was absolutely crazy to even think of. Yeah.
And back when they actually did it, they had horses, and they didn't have the technology of today. And I think the rock inside that mountain was so heavy, they had to use like this insane amount of dynamite.
Yeah, it was. It was so much dynamite. It was everything. It was crazy.
We don't want those explosions.
No.
In our marriage.
But I think that when we face those mountains, those trials and everything, we just go back to James, and it said, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds."
And that's hard to consider your trial joy.
Because you know that testing of your faith produces perseverance, Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything.
Right. And God like brings you through that and brings fruit in you.
Yeah, and I think that's it. Like, we have to embrace those mountains. We have to meet the challenge together in our marriage, because as we persevere, it produces that good fruit, and it makes us a better husband, a better wife, a better example to those around us, and it makes our relationship stronger, not only with one another, but also with God.
And a lot of times you can help people going through it after you have come out on the other end.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you're climbing a mountain. I mean, especially mountains like this, or think of the people who climb Everest and stuff. They don't just go and say, you know what, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to climb this mountain. They have people that have already done it to guide them and help them through it. And that's what our job is as Christians, especially as married Christians. We say this all the time to people. You always want those people who are in front of you, behind you, right beside you, because, you know, you need people to lean on, lean into, who will help pull you up, push you up, who will come alongside you and everything else. And if you have people who have faced that mountain, who have climbed that mountain, or maybe they've climbed a couple of them, or if you're here in the Adirondacks, maybe they've climbed all 46, they're a heck of a lot more prepared to tell you how to, maybe not tell you, but come alongside you and guide you as you go up that mountain.
Yeah,
teach you how to get over that mountain. Mm-hmm. And we all need that in our lives.
Oh, it's good. It's a good analogy.
So I think that's it from Whiteface. It's beautiful here, Wilmington, New York. If you ever get here, if you ever get to the Adirondacks, this is right in the middle of Wilmington. That's Whiteface right behind us. One of Kristen's favorite places right down the road to eat breakfast. Adirondack Coffee Company. And you can get a full trout breakfast. Some kind of Adirondack craziness.
Adirondack Mountain Cafe.
Mountain Cafe, which owns Adirondack Coffee Company. But you can get crazy good food here. Lake Placid's 20 minutes away. I mean, you climb that mountain, you're a lot closer to Jesus. Just saying. Have a great day, guys. We love you. Subscribe, like the video, share it, please. If you got any questions, if we can do anything for you, Kevin at marriageandthebuff.com. Have a great week, guys.